Hello, welcome back. Previously we have been looking at the Great Depression in the USA and what it was like in America. We looked at how Herbert Hoover dealt with it as President of the US, and today we're going to look at what the next president did. So our focus today is what was Roosevelt's New Deal. So the first thing I'd like you to do to refresh your memory is to answer the questions below, pause here, have a go at answering them, and then come back and we'll go through the answers. Okay, so question number 1, who was the president up until 1932? If you were listening very carefully, you would have got the answer. The president was Herbert Hoover. He was a Republican. Question number 2, how were people in cities affected by the Great Depression? The answer is that many people in cities lost their jobs and homes. Some moved into Hoovervilles, and some drifted across the country as hobos. Black workers were 30% more likely to have lost their jobs. So if you don't have all of that detail, you might add it in. If you do have it, you'll tick it as correct, and if you didn't write an answer, then I'd like you to add that answer in, please. So, question number 3, how were people in the countryside affected by the Great Depression? Bankruptcy among farmers grew as people couldn't afford to buy the food, and also the farmers were having to lay off their workers, which meant that they couldn't harvest the food. This was made even worse by drought during this time period, and much of Kansas became known as the Dust Bowl. Question number 4, a bit of a throwback here. What was the impact of the Reichstag fire? The Reichstag fire allowed Hitler to blame the communists. If you remember, it was a Dutch communist, Marinus van der Lubbe, and he set up the decree for the protection of people and state using Article 48. Now that meant that he could ban other political parties and imprison people without trial. He then used that fear and the decree for the protection of people and state to force through the Enabling Act, which meant that Hitler could pass laws without consulting the Reichstag. So it's a very important step in Germany becoming a dictatorship. Question number 5 then, a medicine recall here. How did the invention of the microscope impact medical knowledge? Well, it meant that people were able to see the existence of germs, and it brought about germ theory and later the identification of different germs for different diseases. So make sure that you have all of those answers. If they are ones that you got wrong or you couldn't answer, then perhaps note them down as something that you need to make sure that you revise. If for the Reichstag fire you didn't know what the decree for the protection of people and state was, or Article 48, then you may also want to go back and have a look at those things. So, our work today, we are looking at what happened in the 1932 election. So, in November 1932, it was election season, and the candidate for the Democrats was Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR. Roosevelt won by a landslide. Only 6 of the 48 states voted for Hoover. That's really important because usually it's quite a tight fight. So in this instance, to have had such a big landslide is a really big deal for FDR. So we need to think about why he won. What I would like you to do, please, is to use the table, which is here, to write an explanation of why the Democrats won the 1932 election. I'd like you to give at least 5 specific points in your answer, so you are going to be giving me a paragraph. Pause here, have a go at that, and then come back to complete the lesson. Okay, so we've understood why Roosevelt won. We now need to think about what his New Deal was. So in his nomination speech, Roosevelt had promised the American people a New Deal. And that was the idea that he would change things in America for them. So now he had to deliver it. What I would like you to do, please, is you've got a YouTube link here, is on your Show My Homework as well. You can watch that video and you can also use the information provided to answer the questions that you have been asked. They're at the bottom of the PDF on your Show My Homework. You should use full sentences in your answers, and you can submit that then via Show My Homework or by emailing your teacher. Good luck!